video was sponsored by no one, because we obviously don't have enough subscribers. Yet, at least. Subscribe.
Yes, detail.
What's going on, detailers? Today on How To, I want to talk about how to remove deep scratches from your vehicle. Now, it's a pretty simple process if you have the correct tools. The first thing you're going to want to do is to tape off those rounded edges, and we'll talk a little bit more about that later in the video. Now, with wet sanding, you want to start off with the lowest grid sandpaper you have, and you're going to finish off with the highest grid. So this here is about 2,500 to 1,000 grid. I believe I'm starting with a 1,000 grid. I usually like to start with middle grid, like at somewhere between 4 and 6. But I think I wanted to start with 1,000 here just to kind of get an idea how deep this scratch was. So as you can see, I don't know if you can really see, but where I'm pointing at right here, you can see that that scratch is a lot deeper than the 1,000 grid that I used initially, right there. So what I decided to do was to go a little deeper. So this here is about 600 grit sandpaper. And as you can see, I'm focusing right where that deeper scratch is. And you want to be really careful with that too, guys, and just wipe periodically, because you don't want to go too deep where you now have burnt the person's paint, and it's no fixing that. So after which you want to go over the entire area as well with the 400 so it can be even all the way across. You do not want any uneven levels here. And again, you want to continue to dry just to kind of do a checkpoint and see where you are and see where that scratch is. As you can see, I'm getting a close-up view to make sure that the scratch is gone. As you can see, it's pretty much gone. There's still a little pinpoint of that scratch that's pretty much past the clear coat and into the paint and down to the metal, and you'll see that later. This here, I believe, is a 600 grit, or I think I went back to 1,000. Yeah, I wanted to go back to 1,000 just to even things out a bit. And now I'm at 2,000 grit. So 2,000 and 2,500, I believe, is the highest grade I'm using here. In case you guys haven't figured it out, I'm definitely dealing with a little bit of cold vid in my system. So I ask you guys to please just bear with me with my vocals a little bit. But right here, if you can see, is where I was talking about earlier, that little pinpoint scratch. So that's past the clear coat, past the paint, and near the metal. So it's no wet sanding that can be done for that. I mean, it's pretty much a touch-up paint is going to require to fix that there, and that'll be another video for another day. And I'm just trying to get a close look just to make sure that it is in fact past the clear coat and past the paint. So now I'm applying the compound, and I always like to start my buffer at 600 RPMs just to work in the compound evenly, and that should help with some of that spin off, but as you can see, it's pretty much nothing you can do about that. So I'm now kicking up to 1,000 RPMs, and I'm going to work my way up to, I believe, 1,800 RPMs I use for this project. So again, the purpose of this is to remove those light scratches that were left by the wet sanding, and it should give you a really smooth finish when done. You shouldn't have any remnants of those scratches or even signs of wet sanding when you're done. Now, I decided to go to a wool pad. If you notice, I used a foam pad at first. And I wanted to go to a wool pad starting again at 600 RPMs because the foam pad wasn't cutting deep enough for me. So I know that's probably hard to see on camera, but in person I could still see a lot of those light scratches. So I went with the wool pad for the second go round. And again, I'm following the same process, starting at 600, working my way up to 18. So I go from 6 to 1,000 to about 15 to about 1,800 RPMs. So I was pretty much overall satisfied with the wool pad, but there was this one spot that was a little tough, and I decided to do a process called angle grinding. And that's just where I'm using the edge of the pad and applying a little bit of pressure while going back and forth to try to get a little bit deeper. And you want to be really careful with that, guys. I mean, that's definitely something I would recommend a professional to do. Definitely not something for a beginner. And as you can see, I went back over it with the foam pad, and that was just to even things back out. Now, FYI, that is a medium foam pad, just so you know. Okay, now that everything has been compounded out of the paint, it's now time to protect the paint with some wax. And I don't know if you can see the bottle that I use, but it's a Brazilian CARNAUBA. I guess I peeked a little bit in there, but it's a Brazilian CARNAUBA wax by Mothers. And it's cool because it's a cleaner wax, which means it has a tiny little bit of grit in it as well to compound a little bit, but it's more so for finishing. And again, I'm using the medium foam pad, and I'm starting at 600 and working my way. I think I only worked up to about 1,500, if that, maybe about 1,000, because again, I'm not trying to remove anything, as more as protect at this point. I don't know if you can see those legs in the reflection of the car, but one of my guys came over to pay some props for the scratch removal work I did. Let's see if we can take a listen in, see what he said.
You put the spin on that, baby. Put the spin job on that. Number one bull crapper. Yes, you did.
Shout out to my guy Zig, man. Real good friend of mine, best friend since middle school, so shout out to him. Now, as you can see, I'm getting a little closer to show you those scratches that I was talking about that were way deep, those two there. Again, there's nothing I can do about that. With wet sanding, it's going to take some touch-up paint, and as I said, that's another video for another day. Alright guys, we're all done. Just wiping everything off just to smooth it out a bit, but the job is completed. So, without further ado, cue the before-after montage. Let's get it. Whoa. Wait a minute. If you made it to the end of the video and you're this far, I got a nugget for you. Forgot to mention, stop putting shovels on your cars in the wintertime. Don't use a shovel. It's pretty self-explanatory, right? But obviously not. We see this often, over and over again. Do not use a shovel in your car. Please use some type of foam roller, foam shovel, a towel, anything but a shovel, whether plastic or metal. It is not good, and I'm pretty sure that's how this scratch got there in the first place. So stop using shovels on your cars, guys. All right? Love your cars and love yourselves. All right, back to the montage.
Kaboom.